did this the Cowboy Vittles way. Welcome back to the house of Cowboy Vittles, a place that you can call home, a place that you can experiment with your taste buds and learn new recipes. Now I tell you what, with the rising food costs that are going up, we like to preserve our food before it hits us in the shorts. So today what we're doing, we picked up some butter which we need to replenish in our stockpile that we've already done before. Now what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to preserve this without refrigeration. Stay with me as we do this. Now what we like to do is replenish our pantry as we go along so that we can save a little bit of money. What we're doing here, this is unsalted butter. Some folks like salted butter. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start melting this down. Because I tell you what, when we put it in our jars after pressure canning it, it's awful good and it'll last us for quite a while. Let's go ahead and start unwrapping this. And yes, I'm using my cast iron skillets because, you know, I know a lot of folks, they like to use their modern skillets such as the Rachel Ray, and which are good, by the way. But I like cast iron. I'm kind of an old fuddy-duddy. So we're going to start melting this down right now. Join me in just a few moments after it's melted down, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do with it next. We got our first batch of butter going in here right now, and she's melted in my cast iron skillet. And what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and drain that fat off there, because as you can see, that white milky stuff, that's fat. We don't want to put that in our bodies if we can help it. So what we're going to do is we're going to continue melting this down, and we got more butter that we're going to go ahead and do the same thing with. Then we're going to put it into the pressure canner for about 10 minutes. And I've already got that thing going right now. So look at that. This is going to be some good butter. And remember, with them rising food prices, even butter is going up in the price of markets. You want to save some money, don't you? Well, we're going to show you how to do it. Well, our first batch of butter is done. Now we just got to let it cool off a little bit because there's a little bit of froth on there with nothing but fat, and we want to get rid of that. Some folks say like it. Myself, I'd rather get rid of it. So come on over here and take a look at this before we start skimming it. See all that white stuff? That's that fat I was talking about. We're going to let this cool down a little bit in my cast iron skillet. And then we're going to go ahead and scoop that out. And then we'll start to put it in our jars. And then put it in the pressure canner for about 10 minutes. So join me after this cools down. Let's start scooping this fat off here. Let's make this butter righteous. Now look at that. See how much I'm putting into this bowl that is going into our bodies. We don't need that stuff. Look at that. Let's get some more off there. We don't mind if there's a little bit left over because, you know, a little bit is good enough. Now, let's go ahead and start pouring this into the jugs so we can go ahead and put it in a pressure canner and put it on about, you know, for about 10 minutes. There's the jugs I use because that's about a month's worth of butter. Let's go ahead and set that in there. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and let me move this out of the way just a little bit so you guys can keep it all right in place and see what I'm doing. Now we got a whole lot more butter we can be doing up, but just for just let you see what I'm doing, I'm just doing up this batch here for right now. Oops, made another mess, Nene. I can't seem to help but make a mess, because remember what I always say? A clean cook ain't a good cook. Now I want you to take a look at this, folks. I took this up here right to that bottom ring right there. And we're going to set that off to the side for right now. Now let's get the next jar going. Now that it's cooled off, that is. And we're not going to be putting these in the refrigerator for 2 or 3 hours. We want them to cool off enough before that happens. Otherwise, guess what? Our jars will break. Well, we got the butter skimmed off as much as we could. There's still a little bit of fat on the bottom, and I want you to take a look at that. See that one there is still got a little bit of fat in there? We can live with that. What we're going to do now, we're going to go ahead and start putting our lids on there. Let me put them over there. Now the first thing we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and wipe down the edges of this, because we're going to be putting them in the pressure canner and we want a good seal. So let's go ahead and wipe these things down. Let's go ahead and put these lids on there, and then we're going to put our screw tops on afterwards. Now my lids have already been sterilized in the hot water bath. So now we're going to put the screw caps on with them. And then we're going to get them into, if I can get the darn thing off there. What the heck is that? That could be a goofball. It was a magnet for my magnet grabber. Well, we got our caps on there. We got our screw caps already tightened down. We've actually wiped the rim of it with our paper towel so they can get a good seal. Now what we've got is our butter. Guess what now? We're going to go ahead and put it into our pressure canner for about 10 minutes. That water is already hot, and once it's done, we can take it out. And we're going to set it here on our table for about 2 or 3 hours. And every 30 minutes, we're going to go ahead and shake it around, because there is a little bit of fat in there. Not much. We tried to get as much off as we could. But I tell you what, there ain't nothing like having your own preserved butter at home that you don't have to put in your freezer or your refrigerator. Just put in these small jugs after a little bit of work, and it's good to go. We finally got done with the rest of our butter. We've restocked our supplies and such. I tell you what, it's all good feeling when we know we can reach into our pantry and get what we need. Now, take a look at that, folks. After we went ahead and melted that butter down, which we didn't boil, because that's not a good thing. We went ahead and melted it down, we put it into our jars, and then we put it in a pressure canner for about 10 minutes. And guess what? Them lids are going to be sealing up awful nice. But this is what we're looking at the end of the day. That's butter, and we've already skimmed all the fat off that. Now about every 30 minutes, we're going to go ahead and shake that up, because there's going to be a little bit of fat still left in that thing. Now let me show you what we've got on the other end of the spectrum, because of the fact that we've made butter in the past. That's what it looks like. That what came out of my refrigerator, and we're going to be using that up real quickly. But then again, we have these small little jars that I have in my pantry. I tell you what, if you can eat that much butter in a matter of a month or two, you're crazier than a Dickens. You know, because you don't want that in your heart. You don't want that in your arteries. You can have some good old-fashioned butter the right way. Now we're going to be taking probably the next couple of hours, and we're going to be shaking that up every 30 minutes. And then we're going to go ahead and set it in there in the refrigerator after it gets to room temperature. And then from there, we'll put it in the pantry for later use. Like our recipe today for pressure canning butter, come and like us on our social media. Go ahead and follow us. Go ahead and subscribe to us, and even check out our recipes, because I guarantee you we got a whole lot more coming for you. In the meantime, Cowboy Vittles, come and get 'em.